Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another fantastic episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. My name is Bernadette Desir, and I'm your host. Today's special guest is Moneesha. How are you doing, Moneesha?
I'm doing really, really well, and I'm excited to be here. So thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me.
You're welcome. Can you tell us where you're tuning in from?
So I'm here from the UK, although originally I'm not from the UK. I'm actually from Mauritius, but at the moment I'm in Peterborough in the UK.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I had to ask you where that country is because I have no clue. If you were to locate it, where is it?
So it's a tiny little island
Okay.
between South Africa and Australia. So we're quite low on the equator, but it's a tropical island.
Ooh, that's awesome. Is that where you grew up?
Yes, until the age of 18. And
Oh,
then I
wow.
moved to the UK to just study.
That's awesome. What are some of the languages they speak there?
So, myself, we speak English and French because you have to do English and French at school.
Yeah.
And then at home, you speak Creole, which is kind of your national language. So that would be Creole, which is broken French. And then my grandparents were originally from India before they moved to Mauritius. So they actually speak Hindi and also the broken Hindi, which is Bhojpuri. So we
Mhm.
actually speak quite a number of languages in Mauritius.
Oh, wow. You said you speak Creole. That's what my language is called in Haiti. Oh my
I
goodness.
do, I do.
It's exactly the same. Should we see if it's identical?
Yeah, go on.
Okay, I'm gonna say how are you?
Okay.
Kijonye? Kijonye?
No.
No. Okay, okay. That's mind-blowing. That's awesome. Yeah, there are different types of Creole. That is so cool. That's really cool. Yeah. I'd love to keep talking about the richness of your country and culture and mine, but we want to get to know you. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Okay, so I'm Moneesha. So I'm a mom. I've got two kids. I've got a lovely husband. uh, let's say happily married, but there's nothing as happily marriage. It comes with all the challenges, but he's an awesome husband, so I'm quite lucky in that sense.
Mhm.
So in the UK, I came here as a student to study and started working, and then later on realized that I traded too much of my time for money, and I wanted to spend more time with my daughter,
Mhm.
my first child, and I decided that was it. I'm not gonna work for somebody else. I want to work for myself. I want to have the flexibility to be able to do things for myself. I want to be able to spend time with my daughter. So that was me giving myself like 6 months to replace my income, leave my job. And I started a business called KVM Stays, which is a short term stay accommodation business, like Airbnb, for example. But what we specialize in is helping business travelers. So we have people that come in the area because they're working and they come on a Monday and they leave on a Friday, or sometimes they stay 7 nights, sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6 months.
Mhm.
And they come in and stay with us, which is like an Airbnb, but without all the, let's say, the fun aspect of it. It's more kind of a really nice place for them to sleep, really.
Mhm.
And that's what I do. And that's what I've been doing for the last nearly 8 years now.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. So, what are some of the countries that your business is in? Is it just where you are?
Just where I am at the moment, although we are exploring going to Dubai because it will be quite interesting for me to have that. But
I
you can
want to
just,
go to Dubai someday. So,
well,
I
you never
do.
know.
I've never been to Europe either. So,
Oh,
my
really?
bucket list. Yeah, I watch shows in Dubai. It's breathtaking.
It
It's
is.
so
It's lovely.
beautiful. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. So what were some of the unexpected challenges that you faced, when it comes to the business you do?
Um, do you know what? One of the things that my mom taught me from a very young age is that there's always a way, like if you want something, you can make it happen, my mom used to say, if there's a will, there's a way, like if you want something, you're going to find a way of doing it. And I guess for me, when I started my business, a lot of people ask me, well, the challenges and stuff like that. And I usually say, I never see any challenges because for me, everything that happens is just for me to think about another way of doing it. So yes, there are challenges, and if I were to really think about it and put it into challenges, I would say, working on your own, being your own boss, being disciplined to yourself, um, always questioning yourself as to what else could you do next, because sometimes you tend to be very comfortable where you are, so coming out of that comfort zone. um
Mhm.
I think the other challenge sometimes is people around you change when you go and grow yourself, whether it's personal development, starting a business. When you're growing, people around you change, and sometimes as an individual, when you're starting on your own, that can be a bit of a challenge, because suddenly you see your friends and family being, I won't say nasty, but making comments about what you are now passionate about, and they don't see
Mhm.
that part because maybe they're still in a job and they don't necessarily see your passion of doing something different. So I
Mhm.
think if I were to think about all the challenges, I would say that there's maybe a lot of other operational things that's come along the way, but
Mhm.
I've never really seen them as a challenge
Mhm. Mhm.
personally.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And I think we do have that in common, and many other people as well, right? I tell people I'm my own boss. It's fantastic. I choose my hours, what I do, how I do it, but it's a constant challenge, and I get bombarded with thoughts and ideas, and there's no one else to necessarily exchange those with. And it's definitely hard when our
Hmm.
families don't necessarily love or
Yeah,
support fully what we do. Um, through them doing that, um, has it helped you grow personally or as a business?
definitely. I think personally, because obviously coming from a small island where you have very limited exposure to things, where you're kind of restricted in the way you think as well. Mauritius was an undeveloped country at some point. Obviously, yes, they're doing very well, but there's many things that I've learned when I've come here. But when you start your business, one of the things that I had to do was personal development, because you're the one who creating the business. If you don't invest in yourself, then your business is relying on you. You're the core of your business. So yes, if you don't invest in yourself, you're
Mhm.
really not investing in your business.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Mhm.
So for me, investing in myself, investing in understanding what I'm very good at, what I'm not so good at,
Mhm.
where I really need to ask help. Because I think as an entrepreneur, it's sometimes very difficult to understand what you're very good at and what you're not, and actually asking for help.
Mhm.
So I think that is most probably, sorry,
No worries. It's
probably
very
the core.
dry. It's very even where I am, it's dry too.
Sorry about that.
No, no, it's
Um,
okay.
so I think for me, it was something that I needed to do. I needed to grow from a point of view where I'm
Mhm.
not just looking at what I want, but also what the business needs,
Mhm.
and almost stopping you from being emotional about all the decision that you take, because a
Yeah.
business cannot run on emotion. So you have to grow, because when you're working for somebody else, you don't see the bigger picture. You only see your job,
Mhm.
what you're doing and how it affects what you're doing. You don't necessarily see the bigger picture of how does that affect the business? How does that affect the people working next to you? But when you have your own business and you have people working with you have to see the bigger picture. You have to almost listen to your emotion and then say, okay, let's think now. What does the mind say? What does your head say about this? And come up with the right decision.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. Um, yeah, when it comes to having your own business, what advice would you give to anyone who wants to start a business for themselves?
I think is to have a clear goal. One of the things that I see when I'm helping others starting the business is they have a wish. They want to do this. I call it wish because for me, I think it's a wish at this point. They
Mhm.
come along and they say, I want to do this. I want to replace my income, or I want to leave my job, or I want to get this and that. But the problem is
Mhm.
with that goal, You need to really understand how you're going to get there. And I think that's where a lot of people fail. They feel like they've got a goal, but actually, for a goal to be successful, you really need to think about, this is what I want. Let's reverse engineer the whole process. What do I need to do every single month, every single week, every single day to get to that goal? So
Mhm.
if anybody want to start a business, I would say, think about what you want out of that. What's the main goal? And then think back, what do I need to get there? Because people tend to focus on the goal, but actually what you need to focus on is the action that you need to take. Because if you focus on that, the goal will be there.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about mindset. What kind of mindset does someone need to have to stay successful in the business that they have?
Interesting. I don't
Mhm,
I don't personally think that you need to have a specific mindset to be successful.
mhm,
We all very different. Some people are highly emotional,
mhm,
some people are not so emotional. Some people are very straightforward, some people are very reserved in the way they would express themselves. So I think as a business owner, if you want to have the right mindset,
mhm,
it's not about having something specific. It's investing in finding out yourself,
mhm,
what are you very good at and what you need to improve. And that's the right mindset, because there's no point changing yourself. If you're not that kind of, so some people will say in business you need to be very radical, you need to be, on the point, the thing. But if that's not your nature, why do you have to become that? Just become the best at what you can.
mhm,
And if we're all the same, then the world will be very boring. So for me personally, when it comes to mindset, I personally believe that you invest in yourself. You invest in finding out who you are, what you're good at, what you're not so good at, and how can you improve. So for example, we were talking about it earlier when we said, some people will be very emotional with their decision. And now, if you know that's you, then you need to learn, okay, in business, you can't be emotional. I
mhm,
need to learn to be more practical about my decision and leave my emotion on the side. And that's where I think is the right mindset, is understanding and moving forward and taking the right direction.
mhm. Yeah, I love your approach on how you explain it. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Can you take us back to your childhood? What was it like? And what are some fun memories and lessons that you've learned and you've kept?
I think the number one lesson I remember when I was very young. Everybody at school had this special diary where you get everybody to write something about you.
Mm,
And I remember going to all my friends, and the rule was you go to everybody that are your friends, but not necessarily your family and stuff.
mhm,
But I wanted my family to be in there. I wanted my mom to write something. I wanted my aunt to write something. And I remember my mom put it, and that was the first time that it really resonated to me. She said, when there's a will, there's a way.
mm,
And that stuck to me from a very, very young age. Although at that time, maybe it didn't that much, but
mhm,
I kept that diary. And when I came to the UK, when I look back into it, I thought, she's so right. And I've always used that approach. Like my daughter is 8 now, and then she'll come to me, oh, mummy, I don't know how to do this. Like kids these days are so quick at giving up. So
mhm,
the one thing that I'm trying to say to her is, if you want something, there's always a way. And if
mm,
you're not successful because you've tried it and you've not achieved it, that means you need to keep trying until you're successful. So I'm trying to get her to change her mindset about giving up very quickly, which I think is something which is very common with the younger generation now. So I'm trying to get her to think, okay, it didn't work, fine, let's try again. Let's try again, because it will work in the end.
mhm,
Um, so that was from very young age. I think what I really enjoyed, if I think of my childhood, is the fact that we had family around, we have cousin around, we used to play. We never used to have, like, we do have toys, but we used to play so much outside the house, running around with the cousins and doing so many games out of everything around the house. So I think that are kind of my fun memory. My not so fun memory would be most probably the relationship my dad had with my mom. So that I think is something that I always remember.
mhm,
And I now remember and talk about it, but I think pretty much most of my life I've tried to put it at the back of my mind.
Mm, yeah. Thank you so much for sharing. Um, it sounds like a great childhood with all the fun memories you have. Um, how do you continue to pass on some of those memories to your family, to your kids?
It is a challenge, I have to say. I'll be completely honest. That's a bigger challenge than running a business.
Mhm,
Um, the fact that kids nowadays have pretty much everything they want by just asking, you
mhm,
know? Like, when I was a child, I remember everything we wanted, we kind of had to wait until it's Christmas or something special to say, "Hey, dad, I really want this, blah, blah, blah." Whereas kids these days are like, "Mom, I need this," or "Mom, I want this." And it's like, they expect everything. And they
mhm,
don't have the patience. Like, as kids, we used to have the patience to play for hours or to wait for months before you get something. Kids these days automatically think it comes like, because I
mhm.
guess it's where we are now, you order
Yeah,
something on Amazon, you get it the next day, or sometime you order in the morning, you get it at night. So
yeah.
kids are learning a different way of lifestyle in as such that
Mhm,
they almost expect things to happen very quickly because it is happening quicker than it was in the past. In the past, if I
mhm.
wanted a toy, my mom needed to save for it, my dad needed to go and buy it, and then the wait and stuff. Now, click on Amazon, you've got it in a couple of hours. So I guess, that's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a new generation. There's always something new to learn. And kids are so good with technology these days. They are. Yeah, yeah. Um, so you've won a few awards. Can you
Mhm.
tell us more about those?
So yes, we've been nominated for quite a few awards for Best Business of the Year, Most Inspiring Woman of the Year. We've won two awards from that. One for the Most Inspiring Woman of the Year, and just recently Business of the Year. So
Mm,
for me, it's it's almost like saying, "Hey, I've done something, I've achieved something," because it's been recognized by other people. I
mm,
guess, when you're coming from a small island and you're coming to the UK, it's such a big island, you
mm,
really have to make yourself stand out, like you're like almost feeling like people need to see me because I don't know whether they see me. I'm such a small person from such a small island in such a big country. So I guess I've always kind of brought up with always wanting to make sure that people realize I'm here, people appreciate, what I'm doing is amazing. So sometimes having that recognition just help you internally saying, hey, do you know what? You've done it now. Stop trying to, you know, make sure that people know what you're doing. So yeah, that's me.
Thank you for sharing. Would you say you have some fears, and how do you overcome those fears?
um, I'm scared of snakes.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, pretty much anything that's a bit cold and uh, gooey. I don't
Yeah.
like. But let's face it. What do I fear? I don't think I fear anything as such.
Mhm.
In general, apart from scared
Yeah.
of snake and stuff like that. I
Mhm.
don't think there's anything that I fear of. Just based on the fact that I've grown up thinking if I try something, it doesn't happen. I just need to carry on. So there's not like a fear of not being able to do something. There's not a fear of anything because I know that if you want something, you just need to work hard at it. And
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
You just need to try and try and try. Um, People are very good at, let's say, pick a sport, football, for example. It's not just because they're born being a good footballer. They work hours, they
Yeah.
train for hours. And the same thing apply with anything you want a business or you don't want to do something different. You just need to put the time and effort. So for me, I don't personally feel like I'm a fear of anything. And I guess it's also to do with maybe now I've done so much work on my own mindset. I just don't have that fear of what if I don't have people around me, or what if that person doesn't like me. I mean, I remember when I was very young, I used to have those fear in terms of I want to be accepted. I want to be, be
Mhm.
equal in every situation. I want people to respect me. I want everybody to like me. But, when you become a mom and when you become a business owner and when you're working on your mindset, you almost realize, well, it doesn't matter what they think. What matters is what you think and how you feel. And
Mhm.
it's only going to affect you if you let them affect you. So I've learned to let go of that, let go of the fact that I'll be judged by people, because whether you do something or you don't something, you're going to get judged anyway, either way. So might as well do something you really like and be judged than be scared of doing it because you're going to be judged by somebody. So I
Mhm.
guess when I was younger, I had that fear of being judged, the fear of not being accepted. But over the time, I've worked on it, and I
Mhm.
don't feel like these are anything that I should worry of now.
Thank you for sharing. I just had an interview and literally they talked about exact same thing you said. So the universe is speaking to me and you're speaking to me as well, right? We touch on society, culture, norm, and mindset, all of it. And thank you for sharing. Um, when it comes to the business you have, what would you say needs to change when it comes to other businesses that are similar to yours?
So how could I improve my business, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Uh, how could I improve my business? I think what I could do better, and I'm not too sure I'm ready to do it, would be maybe to have customer service advisor who are based in the UK, because I think because we have about 80% of the people staying, UK people staying, the fact that we use international staff rather than local UK staff, obviously there is slightly, I wouldn't say miscommunication, but there's different approach. There's, you know, the stuff that we have, they're not UK born, so sometimes they don't get what the guests are saying them straight away. Take them a while to understand what they're saying because maybe they're not used to one of the word that we use very frequently in the UK, but it's not known there. One of the things it says we have a power cut. They were like, "What? You have a what?
mm-hmm.
Oh, you
Yeah,
mean?"
yeah.
So it's just things like that. We used to use those words. We're very familiar. We don't realize some people don't know it. So one other thing that I thought at some point is maybe we should that, but from a cost point of view, it's obviously cheaper for us to have people outside the UK. So that was a business decision to keep it, but that could be something we improve.
Mhm.
Um, I I personally, like a lot of people would say to me, when you started, you were like the first few service accommodation. And since then, there's been like loads of people doing, copying what you're doing, following what you're doing, and growing bigger. I always say that in business, you need to stop thinking about what others are doing and just focus on your journey, because
Mhm.
it's very, very easy to start comparing yourself with, oh, this person's doing that, that person's doing that. Why am I not doing this? Why am I not achieving this? I I've realized over time that we're all very different and we have different commitment, we have different support system around us. We just need to focus on our journey and what's best for us, because I might have decided I want to spend time with my daughter, but they might not have realized that yet. They're not there yet. And although they're spending more time focusing on their business, the
Mhm.
downside of that is they're not spending so much time with their family. So I think we need to stop comparing and just focus on what we do and do the best of what we can with our current situation, and
Yeah.
stop kind of looking at what others are doing. So at some point I was thinking, oh, maybe I should have grown bigger, maybe should have focused more on the business. But then
Mhm.
when I look back and I think what I've done, I realized that the reason I left my job was because I was very busy. I couldn't have time for the kids. And if I do the same thing now that I have a business, well, what's the point of doing all this?
Yeah.
So I always try and balance things and say, okay, yes, now it's time for me to focus a bit more on the business, but I need to still focus enough time on the kids. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the way I deal with things. So
Mhm.
I think the only thing that I would say improve is most probably the customer service side by having UK based. But in general, I'm quite happy and content with what we've achieved so far.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Delegate
Yeah.
more. Delegate more.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah, yeah, I've talked to many amazing people from the UK, and I do struggle understanding some of the words. And they always are very loving and open to help explain what they mean. So, yeah, yeah. How would you define happiness on a personal level for you?
For me, um, you mean in terms of define what happiness means to me as
Yes,
such?
yes, yeah.
Or for me, happiness is being able to spend loads of time with my family, being able to be
Mm,
there for them, being able to cater for their needs and
mhm,
wishes. Coming up from a childhood where we don't necessarily had loads of stuff, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think most probably it was a good thing. I almost feel like sometimes I need to give them everything because, like I remember very clearly, we're just in the process of moving, and my husband's saying, "Do you really want to take that dollhouse? I don't know why you bought it in the first place. I don't think she really wants." And I was like, "Well, never had a dollhouse. I wanted a dollhouse for her. It was
mhm,
almost I bought it for myself rather than I bought it for her because she didn't really ask for it." So
mhm,
I guess sometimes, I'm always trying to maybe fulfill things that I didn't have in my childhood, making sure that they have it.
mhm,
So for me, happiness is when I see people around me happy, when I see my kids happy, my husband happy. That for me is happiness. And being in that position where you can help others as well. Because um, for me, I feel happy when I help people. Sometimes I'll go out on my way to help somebody, but is seeing that you made a difference for them. It's something you can't really count. Like your kids is yours, you do it because it's your kids. But
yeah,
when it's somebody who's not really related to you, and then you go out of your way and help them
mm,
out, and then you see that, them being able to change something in their life or do something, I think that's like a feeling you can't replace.
mhm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. So how do you unwind?
Hmm. I would say a good film. Like we try on Fridays not to like talk about business and do anything and just watch a film if we can, almost every Friday. Well, that's like a chill time for all of us as a family, whether they're watching something else, but it's being together and sit down. Like in my house, no matter what we do, we seems to be always together, whether they sitting and watching iPad or playing,
Yeah.
we're always in one room. Like we never really go in different rooms. We
Mm,
It's something we do. And
mm,
I've noticed, like being in the UK, I noticed there's a lot of separation in some of the houses. Like the kids tend to be in their rooms, or the parents tend to be in the dining room and the kids in the living room. But it's slightly different for us, and I think that's because we always try and be together. So if something I want to keep is that, because as they grow, I mean, she's only 8, teenager is a different story, I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. But I want to try and foster that if I can, and just make sure that we carry on doing this time together if we can. But definitely watching a film. I don't do meditation because I've got such a busy mind. Like I've tried
Yeah.
to meditate. But I always think that when I'm meditating, I'm always thinking about everything else that goes on in my life and what I can do or couldn't do.
Yeah.
So I don't think it really helps me unwind as such. So I don't necessarily meditate that much. But yes, watching a film, taking some time off, going on holiday, and doing things together with my husband does
Mm,
help me unwind because we'll go out and do something together and we'll not talk about work. So
mm,
that helps you unwind.
mm. Yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing. And what are some of the favorite countries that you've been to that you want to go back to?
Mm, I'm always like wanting to go somewhere different. So if I've been somewhere, I'm not like so keen. But there's one place that I went. We went for our honeymoon, and I was like, Antigua, and was like, we need to go back. So on 10-year anniversary, we went back. But
Yeah.
that was like the one place. I don't know whether it was because we got married and it was our honeymoon, and you know, you really wanted to go back. But I always want to go somewhere different.
Mhm.
Um, I love Italy. I've been to Dubai. I love Dubai. You know, we've been so many different. For me, it's all about going somewhere and finding, doing things a bit different, looking at things that we don't normally see.
Mhm.
But I always like the feeling of coming back home. I really like. I think I'm a very homey type of person. So
Mhm.
although I like going out, I always want to come back. You know, like I've just been to Mauritius for like 5 weeks.
Mhm.
It's been brilliant, but I was also looking forward to come home. You
Yeah.
know, it was brilliant being with everybody, but I don't know. I like the comfort of my house. You know,
Yeah.
I do like staying indoors. My husband's like, you can't even go out to in the garden. I'm like, I love my house. You know, I like being indoors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm not that kind of person that travels and want to go back. I just travel to see, to discover, and then
Mhm.
I'm like happy to go back home. So yes, the only place I want to go back and back and back is my house.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite place in your house? Some people,
Um,
it's their room or wherever it may be.
I
Like,
think most probably is the living room because that's where we all tend to be together, always like, you know,
mhm,
together. Um, yeah, I
mhm.
think that would be. I do enjoy cooking, but it's hard work, so I wouldn't say
Yeah,
that.
tell me about your cuisine. I'm so eager to know more. Is it
Well,
tropical, colorful?
so Mauritius was an island, and there was obviously no people on there. So they decided they wanted to bring people over to cultivate the land and everything. So they went to China, they went to
Mhm,
Africa, they went to France, India, different places to get people to come and live in Mauritius.
mhm.
So we have the French cuisine influence, the
Yeah,
Chinese influence, the Indian influence, and the African influence. So our food is a mixture of different things.
that's so cool. That's really cool. Do you
It
guys
is
have
fun.
spicy foods?
Um, that's a good question. People tend to think that we eat like Indian food, which is very spicy. But I personally see that Mauritian food is like a toned down version of Indian food, blend with a bit of more kind of the African roots. So, you
Mm,
know, like Indian food tend to be quite spicy with hot spices and chili and stuff like that.
mhm.
Whereas the African is more kind of the grill, the soup and thing and
Mhm.
you know, so it's like a blend of both of them. So I think
Yeah.
no, not very spicy. We do eat a bit of chili, but not
Yeah.
very spicy.
Okay, that's awesome. How do you blend your culture with your business?
So for us, it's very important to kind of bring the hospitality side of where we come from because
Mhm.
Mauritius is a tropical, but it's a very touristic island. You know, like people go there for their honeymoon. People always want to go there. It's like one of the top destination for honeymoon.
Mhm.
So they're very, very good at hospitality. So when we wanted to do this and go into hospitality, I almost felt like we needed to bring that in. So one of the things that we've done is understand like our values, what we believe on in, and what we really like, and we kind of brought that. So part of our branding, we have yellow because that represents the sunshine that we get in Mauritius. You know, the vibrant color that comes from Mauritius. So that's kind of part of our branding. So we kind of brought a bit of our root into it and even our communication. So instead of saying hello, we say bonjour because I wanted to bring this
Yeah.
into what we do because that's us, you know, that's our business and that's us, so that represent us. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I've used it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So for anyone who's listening or watching this, what do you want them to get out of this episode?
I want them to believe in themselves that they can achieve anything that they want and just don't give up because, you know, the first time around you did it, it didn't work. Just don't give up because I'm an example of somebody who's come up, who came from a small island into a big country, and now I have my own business. I'm turning over a 500,000 business, and you know I'm winning awards. So if I can do that, anybody can do it. It's just putting the effort in, putting the hard work, and don't give up if you fail the first time. If
Mhm.
you fail, it's not failure, It's just that you need more practice and you need to go and do it again.
Mm. I love listening to you. Your mindset, your approach, it's fascinating. And it's like a warrior vibe I'm getting, if that makes sense. Someone who doesn't quit, doesn't matter what's thrown at them, what happened to them. We just move that to the side and keep growing. And I love that spirit. Thank you for sharing that with me and my audience. Is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to talk about?
Um, no, I think as a society now, we give up very quickly. And when I was saying, don't give up, I know sometimes we have almost like a weaker mindset now,
Mm,
because we see it very often everywhere, where people are always saying, oh, I'm depressed because of that, oh, I'm depressed because of this, or this is too hard. We're getting into a society where we almost feel like we need to be depressed because that's what people talk about. You turn the TV on, there's always bad news. I've got to the point now where I don't put the news on because I know it's bad news. If I want to read about something, I go online and choose what I want to read.
mhm.
And I think if the listeners are listening now, one thing I would say is protect yourself from getting into that circle, because we're now seeing so many people having so many mindset issues, and that is coming from what we see all the time around us. So protect yourself, believe in yourself, and try not, I know it's hard sometimes, but trying to build your mindset so that you stop recognizing this is bad for me. I need to step away and not listen to that. You know, if the TV is always talking about bad news, step away from that. You don't have to listen to that.
Yeah.
If you have people around you who are always very negative, always giving you the bad vibe, recognize and step away. I'm not saying ignoring it. At the end of the day, they might be your best friend, they might be your family, but
Mhm.
just having that simple acknowledgement that, hey, they have a very negative vibe. This is protecting yourself. And hopefully, then that start with you building a stronger and stronger mindset.
I love that. Yeah, I posted a post last week on my Facebook. It says, you have the power to protect your peace. And
So,
yeah, most of us don't realize that we have power over what we do, what we say, how we do it, and to have healthy boundaries. As soon as we set those up, we trigger and lose most people because they don't like it. They want to be able to come in when they want, do whatever they want, right? It's just to have those.
yes, I think sometime, let's say you want to start a business and somebody come to you and say to you, oh no, you're going to fail at this, this is not very good, this is this. Acknowledge that what they're saying is their insecurities. That's what's coming out of it. They might mean really well, because sometimes these are going to come from your mom, from your dad, and they mean very well, but most of the time it's their own insecurities that's coming out.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying, you need to kind of get, okay, I'm not listening to you, but just register that in your mind. It's very important to register that, because that's when you start building a strong mindset.
Mhm.
Instead of being affected by what they're saying and say, hey, my mom is saying this, maybe she's right. Oh, I can't believe she's not supporting me. Just register. Hold on a sec. That's her own security. She's had a bad childhood. They didn't have this. They don't know about starting a business. That's why they're thinking. So for me, is that recognition is what's going to start helping you having that strong mindset. But yeah, you're right, absolutely right.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Well, I have two questions for you as we wrap up this amazing episode. First question, what is the meaning of life for you?
Meaning of
Meaning
life
of life?
for me is a journey.
Mm,
You come here, we tend to think about ourselves, but it's like, what can you achieve? We might be here for 5 years, we might be here for 100 years, God knows, but what do you
yeah.
achieve in that time? So for
Mhm,
me, life is, what do you make out? When you leave at that 100,
mhm,
life is what you leave behind. For
mhm.
me, this is what it is what people will think about you when you leave, what they will remember you as, what you've done. So, if you've done something amazing and you die and people talk about it, this is life. This is living your life, really. So
Mhm.
for me, that's what I would think life is all about, is that journey and what you make out of it.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing. Last question for you. Where can my listeners find you and support the work that you're doing and your business?
Yeah, sure. So I have my main company, which is KVM Stays. So if anybody decide to come to the UK and want to stay with us, you can find us on all the social media platform under KVM Stays. And if anybody would like to learn how I replace my income in 6 month time with doing short-term stay, I do coach a client. They can find me on my Nisha social media platform, which is Nisha Ludhor, and I'll share that with you. Maybe you
Yes.
can add it to the notes, and then anybody can just get in touch through any of our social media platform, and we'll be more than happy to listen and help.
Mhm. Oh man, my throat just got dry out of nowhere.
Sorry, I'm passing on to you.
So bad. Actually, I'm an empath, so I do pick up people's energy all the time.
Oh, really? I'm so sorry.
Oh no, it's okay. It's okay.
I hope you
Yeah,
do
I
pick
feel
up some
it.
good vibes too.
No, I feel it right here. All right. Well, thank you so much, Monisha, for sharing your
Yeah.
journey with us and for empowering us today.
Thank you for having me. It was a real pleasure to be here and be able to talk to you. And you're an amazing person.
Oh, thank you so much. So are you. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
You too.